Hi everyone, welcome back. It is frigid up here in New England, and don't ask me why, but I've got this idea in my head that I want to get this thing as finished as I can get because I want to get it out of here. You can tell it's really freezing cold in here because I look like a very angry bull. Comical, I know. But if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I need more heaters in this garage, I swear to God. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me so much and it doesn't cost any money. It's just a click of a mouse if you like what I'm doing here. And I know, first thing, my subscriber count has completely stopped. Like, it is completely plateaued because I'm not offering anything new. Here's the problem with YouTube though. The people who have all the subscribers and get all the views have the opportunity, because they get all sorts of ad revenue, to provide new content. Now, if you're someone like me who's absolutely been grinding for the last few years to even get anything out of this, which I barely did, you don't get anything. You know, $100 every month and a half is really not providing you guys for extra content, and everything that I do comes out of my pocket. And that just doesn't really translate into good videos for you guys, and that stinks. I really wish I could just kind of focus on that, but I can't. So this is where we're at. But at least it gives me an honest opportunity to show you what it's like to be, well, a short track racer. And a kind of low budget one at that too. Especially somebody who, you know, is fortunate enough to have a garage in their own property, which is nice, but also has a budget. You know what I mean? Somebody who uses Harbor Freight tools, and somebody who doesn't have insulation in their garage and freezes to death in the cold weather. Somebody who actually has to try to make something do when you don't have the funding to kind of just go do what you need to do. So that's kind of what this channel's about. Obviously, if you've subscribed for long enough, you know that. What I'm talking about at the beginning of the video is that I want to try to get this thing completely, well, I can't lie to you and say it's completely finished, because it's not completely finished. But I want to get this thing as finished as I possibly can. Get it out of here, because I've been dying to get a new project in here that really means a lot to me. The problem with this is it's wintertime in New England. There's always going to be the possibility of snow on the horizon, and that's exactly what we've got in the forecast in the foreseeable future. I don't know if it's going to impede progress. I don't know if we're going to actually be able to start on that new project, but this is where we're at right now. I want to get this thing, I want to set the thing on the ground. I want to set it to ride heights, to whatever it's supposed to be. Finally get those wheel arches trimmed and have them rolled. I want to get the nose strip on. I want this thing as ready to go so it can be jammed in the trailer, and then come like late March, we can slap on a wrap or whatever we're going to do with the body, put it on the scales, de-winterize it, and go racing in late, I think it's late April, right? Something like that. We'll figure out when we go again. I already got my season pass and my license and all that stuff, so. Okay, now that this video is pretty much over, because I've been talking the whole time, let's get started. Let's figure out what the ride heights are. Let's get that set properly, because something sagged out a few times. It's a new car. Things do that. Let's get this thing set up in a manner with which we can finally trim those wheel arches. By the way, my Amazon purchases came in, and apparently these VR1 bottles, if you remember the last video me talking about it, these are actually 5-quart jugs. So I thought they would 4, but I guess I got a little bit extra. This top one is a giant box of oil filters. So I got a dozen oil filters for about half the cost of them individually in the store. And I got 15 quarts of VR1 for half the cost of it in the store. I don't think you can go wrong doing that. That's kind of, you know what, with it still in the air, I think that's kind of the first thing on the agenda, because the car came back without an oil filter and no oil. I expected the no oil, but I didn't expect the no filter. So we're going to get that kind of jammed in there, and at least then we don't have to worry about any dry starts or anything, because we're very forgetful. If y'all remember the last video, I did a fiberglass repair, quote unquote, to this hood. I think a wrap will cover up a lot of these sins nicely, but I've had it sitting here for a while. It's been freezing cold out. I did get a couple of supports put in. You can kind of see something in there. Barely. 2 supports. They'll probably not be good enough, but at least there's something in there now. I think maybe before we take this off, we'll take a heat gun to it, see if it at least stays in some semblance of shape. I'm not sure it will or not, but I'm going to wait for this place to warm up a little bit first. I wish I could just drop like a heat lamp over this thing and just kind of radiate the whole thing, but I don't have one. So let's just get it warmed up in here. Maybe I'll start heat gunning this while it's warming up in here, and then when it finally warms up, then we'll do the oil. Oh no. I'm a man down. That's not good. That tells me that this tank is probably empty. And that one's probably going to go soon too. I don't know why it hasn't yet. That's... Uh-oh. Oh, I got my last bullet in the chamber here. Let's take a break and let it reheat the garage. I think that's the one that actually is kind of out of date. So if you actually have like a exchange place, like a little propane exchange place, like my Dollar General next door, what I'll do is I'll just drop that one off that needs a new date for a new one, because they're not going to look at it, and the company will have to recertify it, and I don't have to do a thing about it. So there's that, except for that 40, but you know, we'll deal with that when it comes to it. So you guys remember, well, if you're a longtime viewer of my channel, you'll know that I call myself constantly an automotive hoarder. And for good reason, because a lot of the parts that I have to use haven't been made in about, I don't know, 40 years or so, like all the transmissions I have, like the rear ends that I bought. But this one I can actually not count, because that was factory made, or not factory made, that was complete aftermarket. This one's factory made. But like I said, I hoard parts. And I didn't realize how much of a hoarder I was until I found my old backup filter that was in my trailer. And you could tell it's an old filter because, well, it's a Napa Gold. These are the ones that I bought. These are, you know, really nice Wix filters. They have the same basic part number. And today, even that's the same part number at Napa. These are all brand new Wix filters. They're not the racing ones, but you don't need the racing ones because it's a crate motor. And you're not pulling high RPMs, therefore you're not pulling huge amounts of oil pressure. You don't need the extra burst pressure. You don't need that relief valve. This is just fine, just as this was just fine. But this is why I'm an automotive hoarder. Anybody who knows the Napa Gold filters, back in the day, not anymore, they used to be made by Wix. Now they're made by, I think it's Man Hummel, or it might be somebody else at this point. I don't think they're made, whatever the case may be, they're not the same as they used to be. They are no longer this. I opened this thing up and looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like a Napa Gold. I'm like, kind of looks similar to the filter I just bought. Then I look over here. This is how old my parts are. Wix Filtration Corporation. Then I looked at the label. Made in the USA. What I have in my parts collection is an old Napa Gold that was one of the Wix filters when they were making filters for Napa. I thought that was kind of funny. You know what? Where are these Wixes made? Do they have them on the thing? Made in the USA. Yep. They're just good filters. As I let that very cold, sticky oil that's very viscous find its way down into that very slow-moving vent, I guess, because it's just the easiest way for me to put oil in without taking the valve cover off, I'll give you Brent's Cheap Racer tip of the week. All right, here it is. I haven't done one of these in a long time. If you're looking for a poor man's version of this oil, which is upside down, but it's Valvoline VR1. No free ads. They don't give me nothing, but whatever. It's a good oil. I don't mind selling a good oil for somebody else. If you would like a cheaper version of that, what you can do is this, okay? Get you a bottle like that of Shell Rotella T4 diesel oil. It's like a 1540. It's like a diesel truck oil, right? Then add however much, you need to your motor, but leave room for 1 quart. That last quart, what you do is you buy a bottle of Lucas Oil Stabilizer. So you basically are mixing Shell Rotella T4 diesel oil with 1 full quart. This is for race motors. Okay, 1 full quart of Lucas Heavy Oil Stabilizer. My engine builders back in the day, they used to say, wow, these things are coming apart. They look like brand new. Well, yeah, because we're using, halfway decent oil. But if you don't want to spend the money on this, you can do the diesel oil and the Lucas oil trick, and it's basically the same thing. Ugh, it's almost fallen over. Unfortunately, with the heating fiasco and me trying to take a heat gun to my hood, which I didn't show you guys on video, but literally it was just me stacking weights onto wherever I think that it needs to sit flush and taking a heat gun to it, which doesn't seem to have worked, but I think leaving it out in the sun with some weights on it and then rolling it back indoors would work a lot better. I think I've run out of time. Tonight's league night, and I got to get in there and do that, and after that I'll probably end up playing video games with my kid, who literally just had teeth pulled. So he's not having a good time, so I'm going to have to go and cheer him up at some point, maybe. And we got the oil in. That's a big load off. I might have to add a quart. I don't know if I put enough in. Or 2. I don't really know. I'm going to have to check to see what the engine guy wants. But that's a big load off. Now I'm not worried about forgetting about that because I've spent a whole ton of money on this, and I don't want that motor getting hurt. That's why we're putting some very good stuff in. And I don't stump for brands very often unless it actually is worth a damn to everybody else who watches my channel. But that's a good one. And I know they don't give me no money, but Valvoline makes good products. They make the Napa Full Synthetic Oil that I would swear by, and I still swear by in my private vehicles. It's just that I'm going to go with something a little bit more protective for these race motors, especially if we're going to run a full season on a fresh motor. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Didn't notice I had that license plate hanging there. Who knew? I got license plates all over the place, clearly. Wonder how much I can get for that on eBay. Not to, capitalize on the man dying or nothing, but, hey, somebody might want it. Got to be thinking about tire money. It's the next day. It's still 20-something degrees outside with, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And I've given up. I'm doing my dad's old trick where you take the old salamander heater and stick it underneath the race car, because these are made of what? Metal. I showed you that in a previous video. It literally acts as a giant heat sink, and it helps to warm the garage up quicker. I don't think I have anything that's really delicate under here. No, it's all sheet metal. It won't get that hot. It won't hurt anything. It won't hurt any metal. It won't melt anything. It's just going to warm the whole car up, and the garage will get warm as the car warms up. So win-win. While the shop warms up, I'm going to go outside in this cold weather and pick apart the bones of my gazebo that only lasted, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. Now, take that back, about 6 months. It was anchored to the ground. My wife wants her lights back, so I think I'm gonna just do this for a little while the garage warms up, and hopefully we can salvage at least one thing off of this. But I'm thinking most of this is gonna go right in the trash heap, which is great. I'm glad I spent $300 to have one summer's worth of enjoyment out of this. That's great. Can't have anything nice, I swear to God. She's under there somewhere, still pumping away. There it is. So it's gonna be a little loud in here for a minute, but I figured I'd come over to this mess and show you something I don't normally do. This is a box of parts that I've saved for a while. Why is that? Because I'm a hoarder. And there's a reason for my hoarding. Today's not that day. I'm gonna do something that a hoarder typically doesn't do, and it pains me to do this, but these are old valve springs from the crate motor. They're still good. I just put fresh ones on, and I held onto the box. Well, I'm cleaning out the shop, and there we go. No, I need them back. I saved 2. My reason for that, though, is, well, I don't think I have any other spares than what those were. I don't think I have any in here. And I had an idea. Well, it all stems from being a scout. And the motto is, what is it? Be prepared. I figured we'll save a couple. You never know what's going to happen. One would probably be fine. I just want to make sure I have enough. I save like extra spark plugs, and I have them in the top of my toolbox just in case if I'm at the racetrack. See, I got some spark plugs here. There's 4 of them. They're already gapped. If I need one, they're used, but they still work just fine. If I break one or whatever happens, I can slap one in, just like this. If we lose a valve spring, I figure I'm going to bring the air hose to pump up the cylinder and the little tool to compress them, because it's only a little piece. I can just throw it in the bottom of the toolbox and wheel it in. It's not a big deal. And I have an air tank in the trailer we could use, and I could easily use a magnet from here too, which they all seem to be missing, but I'm cleaning right now, so we'll find it eventually. It's not a big deal. You know, compress it, fix it. We can go back out there on the racetrack as long as we find it before the feature. So, like I said, just something simple like this could easily save our night as long as we're prepared. I'll find a better place for those later, but there you go. Okay, I think we're finally getting to a point where it's starting to warm up in here. And the problem with the cold is that whenever I try to film stuff, it destroys my camera batteries because of how cold it is. So it's hard for me to film when it's really frigid out. Plus, when you're working in the cold, it is so demoralizing and so demotivating that you just don't want to do it because it sucks. I want to go in my house and go play video games and, you know, mess around and not do this and go on iracing. But since we have the heat on, and the one hang up we have right now is this, my fender wells. I need to clean up, but I also need to get the frame heights set to where they're supposed to be, well, right before we put it on scales or something like that, right? So I'm going to get the front at least to a point. I'll go back and look through my book and make sure that the fender heights, or no, the frame heights are what the book says they're supposed to be, because we'd set them and now they're way different. Something sagged out. It's a new car. Things settled. You know, stuff like that. I'll get the frame height set, which means we're going to have to pull the shocks out. We're going to have to drop the lower A-frame or one of the ball joints, screw the adjuster cups, fit the... you know what we got to do. We got to mess with the ride heights. So I'm going to make sure there's air in the tires, which, as they're Hoosiers, nope, there is none. I'm going to have to air those up to whatever they're supposed to be. I don't even think I'm on the right sides. Whatever. Get this thing on the ground afterwards and figure out what the ride heights are so that we can finally finish these damn fenders. I found our possible issue. My right front spring is real collapsed. It's not looking so great. I have a couple spares, I think. Maybe, well, honestly, I maybe have one spare. But that's, at least it's a new one. So I cranked that thing down. I think I put an extra inch. I don't know how much I put in there because I'm looking at it now and I don't know if I put an extra inch or inch and a half in that adjuster, and I took 3/4 of an inch out of this one. This one is close. It's not right yet. We still gotta, I think I took a little too much out of it and I gotta bring it back up. But I'm looking at the springs in this thing. This one looks pretty dang good. This one is like bent and all sorts of stuff. So we might have some sort of other issue going on with this right front that I'm going to have to check. But that is, at least I put a jack underneath it to get the ride height correct. This is at least what the ride height's going to be all the way around. So I'm going to mark it. This one I think is fine though, because when I roll it, it's going to come up okay. This one might need a hair of trimming. I'm not too sure yet. Yeah, maybe I'll trim this one a hair just up in the top arch. Everything else looks okay. The right rear was already fine the second I did it. Left rear looks like it's going to need a little trimming as well, but that's not too bad. Right rear is already done because that's going to quite possibly come up a little bit. Actually, yeah, this is fine. We'll leave that one. That's not going to hit nothing. So all we got to do now is, I think, trim the left side a little bit. This looks okay. We'll get it set while it's on the ground, and once we get where we're going to cut it to and what we've cut out set, then we can right back up in the air, take the tires back off. I can get to this spring while it's up in the air, trim and roll. Now that we have a plan in place, that's a perfect time for me to quit for the night. Because I've got, it's getting late. I haven't eaten, and I don't need to, clearly, by the looks of it. But I got some other stuff I got to do. I got to do some podcast research, and I've got to do some other stuff. So I've got a lot going on. I've got the whole day off tomorrow because as I work for, well, let's just say I work for Uncle Sam. I get the day off because it's a day of mourning for President Carter, which is why I showed you that license plate. So I get the day off. My kid has to go to school, and everybody else I know has to go to work, but I get to stay home. So I'll be piddling around in here plenty tomorrow, and hopefully take advantage of the warming weather, which means we'll gain 5 degrees. But I'll see you tomorrow. It's the next day, and it's absolutely no better with regards to the weather. Still below freezing, in the 20s, with like 40 or 50 mile an hour winds. Like, we don't know what the wind is, I think we get it now. You can shut the wind off anytime. But we're trying to warm the shop up like usual. I got to get this right front blown apart, and this gives me a perfect opportunity to kind of show you guys how I rate springs. Now, I haven't done it in a while, and I was planning on doing it, but this, I guess, has expedited that process. So we're going to rip this apart. We're going to get that spring out. Man, I don't like it. Something's got to happen here, because this should have a lot more frame height than it does, and it just doesn't. And I'm not a fan. So this has to come apart immediately, and we have to see if there's a problem. So I got the spring out here. This one is my old reliable. I've actually had this for a little while. It's an old AFCO spring. Won a bunch of races with that bad boy. Here's my replacement spring of the same rate. I'm just going to check free height because I don't really have any other recourse here. That's about 9.5. This one here, same. It's really not lost any free height. So I'll go show you how to rate a spring. Here's where the neurotic part of the program comes in. I won't be telling you what spring weight we're running, but I'm going to put these two up against each other in the time lapse. But before I do that, I'm going to break out the old spring rater down here and clean all the spark plugs and other junk off of it. I wish I had a place to put it, but, you know, we'll probably whip out hey, I got a table right there. Oh, I don't want to get rid of the fan. We'll find a place for it, but I'm going to take another spring that's just a nice round number, put it in there, and show you how I rate springs. It might not be the right way, but it's my way. I got this old spring. You can see it's more rust than spring. It's old AFCO. I don't know what year. It's literally painted on. It probably last saw action in the 90s or 2000s. I don't know when. Doesn't matter. It says it's 1,000 because it's etched into the spring. It's a good round number. It's something we can easily do, right? So I got this spring rater. I'm going to put this one up in here. Yeah, it seems to fit pretty easy. It can do straight cut ones, or it can do, you know, like these offset coils. You take it, you put it in a thing, you run it down to wherever is closest. Make sure that the jack at the bottom is, you know what, we're going to bring that up 1 foot here. That looks pretty good. Top. I lost the handle to it, I don't know where it went. So I grabbed the one off the bump steer gauge because it has the same basic jack. We're going to make sure that that's tight. Make sure we kind of hold it in place. You can adjust these to get it right. Alright, that's seated. Now, it's got a big gauge on the front that shows you pounds, right? This one goes up to 3,000. Clearly, I don't think it's really meant for that high, but I get a bigger one just so that it can handle a little bit higher load without any issue, because you'll see in a minute. This thing here, it starts at 100, really. And then if you kind of measure, it goes 50, 250, 350, 450, and it's marked here at 500, all right? So when the line moves, that's when it's 100 pounds. So what I do is, right now I'm kind of snugged up right there. That is where it's touching. But what I usually do is, so I'm going to look at it, make sure it's nice and squared up, not going to push at a weird angle with the jack on the bottom or anything like that. So what I do is, I actually kind of bring the jack up, because there's a scale on the side of your jack, right? On the side of your tester. That is a measuring tape, basically. On this one there is. Some might not have it. I don't know. But what I do is, I kind of slowly jack it up until the needle barely moves. Come on. There we go. All right. That is 2 7. Nope. That's 2 and I think that would be 3/8. I don't think it goes in 16ths. I think it's only 8ths and quarters. All right, we'll call that 2 3/8. Now, what you want to do is you want to jack it up an inch. Read what it says. There we go. That says, I'll call it there, 1,000, 50, 100, 1,150, I think. Yep. Now we're going to go another inch. This, I think I should have safety glasses on for. I don't like it, because there's a lot of pressure here, and you'll see why I don't like it in a second. Right there. Yep, right there. Okay. That says 2,150. Let me reduce that pressure because I have 2,000 pounds of pressure literally built up in front of my face. And that's really easy math. Take 2-inch measurement minus the 1-inch measurement. There's your spring rate. That makes perfect sense because this is listed as a 1,000-pound spring. That test said 2,150 minus 1,150, 1,000 pounds. Let's do that for all the rest of them. See what we get. And hopefully we'll find the problem. Oh, I got issues, guys. The suspect spring, the first try, I got the thing. The problem was I couldn't get this thing to seat in this cup here. It was a little too big. So I tried to take this thing and knock her down and eventually got it to seat. Once I got it to seat, first try, it is exactly what that spring said it was. So... is it really bad? You know what I mean? It's measuring out the proper height, and it also measures out the proper rate. So is it really bad? Then I took these two new springs and rated them. They're supposed to be different, and they didn't rate anywhere even close to what their suspected or measured rating is. I tried to do math on this calculator here, and every single time I pushed a button on it, it said 7,500, no matter what number I punched in. So that's completely useless to me. So I'm going to go investigate the spring pocket over there. Maybe we've just got issues with the pocket. Maybe it's not tall enough. You know, if we really, really get into a bind, I mean, I still got some of that material left that I cut off. We could always make it taller, I suppose. Now, as these are a little bit different than factory, I don't really know what the difference in height is, if there is any, with the spring pocket. Now, I ran this exact height on my previous car, which was a full frame car, and I had no issue with frame height whatsoever. Matter of fact, I never had to put this much to it to get the corner up. I always had like plenty of frame height with the stock lower and this much gap to the perch. That's what kind of confuses me right now, is the fact that I'm using the same springs and the same height perch, or adjuster cup, I should say, but it's in a tube car, and now I can't get enough height out of it. So is the spring really bad, or is it just designed differently and I need to add more space so that I can get the height that I need with the rate that I'm using? That's a really difficult question. I've never run into this problem before because I've already told you what we did on the old car. I did check all the rest of the frame heights, and all the rest of them seem to be correct, like they're in tolerance. I will say, though, that when it comes to the left front, we did have to add 1 inch of spacer back into that adjuster, because on the full frame car, we used to just cut that flat and we'd probably have enough adjustment for that one. But on this car, I added the inch back in. It's not all the way down against it. It's close, but I do believe that it's still a little bit low. So I think it's got to come back down. So that means I think the front of this car is a little bit higher up. Like, it's a little bit more recessed than a full frame car. So I think we might have to cut that adjuster cup out and do what we did to the left front, which is add another inch. If we add another inch, we're not going to be bottoming the adjuster out, and we'll be at least closer with our frame heights than what we kind of are right now. Because right now, I'm measuring the frame height, we're not even close. Like, we're not even legal at this point. So that's an issue. And I don't know if it's manifesting that as being, the reason why I feel like a spring is sagged out, or if we've had that problem, or if we didn't have this problem before. I don't really know. I can't really tell what's going on right now. So I'm at the point where it's so easy to cut the adjuster cup out and just add an inch that if we go too far with it and I just have to cut it out again, oh well, whatever. I'll make do. But I'm thinking that might be the course of action that we're going to have to attempt next. Is we're going to have to physically bring the height of the car up using spacers, and the adjuster just isn't going to be enough. So I think we're going to be cutting and welding. Also, I think I need a new angle grinder, because the old $28 Porter cable from Tractor Supply, well, yeah, it's coming apart on the inside. The gears are starting to come apart up here. So that's great. Guys, because I didn't have any real reason to believe that spring has sagged out on me, I had to go back through my notes and check it. And, it looked like we were having problems with that height before. So I did bring it back up. I measured it off the frame and brought it back up. We got it to a point where it's right back where we should be, give or take a little bit. But that adjuster has a little bit either way now that we can adjust where we want to be. This one, if I sit on it, like in the door or whatever, give it a little bit like I'm sitting in the car, it's right where we need to be. So we can finally move on and start doing these wheel wells. We got to get them done. This thing's got to get finished. I'm sick of it being in here right now. I know I'm kind of running out of time for my other project, but we're at the point where we can start finishing this one. So I think we're kind of going in the right direction here, because, well, we still need adjustability. We hadn't ironed that out from when we first put the car together, and now we kind of have. We still have adjustability whichever direction we want to go on either side, and we're at a point where we can start moving forward, which is exactly what we needed to do probably last year, but that's why we got the car done enough to the point where we were able to test it. And, well, we're just kind of marking off the checklist, you know, and that's just kind of how it goes. So time to start cutting, moving, rolling, beating up my forearms, elbows, shoulders. When it comes to these fender wells, you know, I found out that freehanding it always comes out better. I've tried doing the stick with the rope and trying to make it look like a circle. It just doesn't work. What I actually do is I sit down in front of it with myself centered up to the wheel, and then I'll take my arm and put it like on my lap right in front of where the center line of the hub is, draw a line with my arm, just kind of keeping it straight, then take my other arm, do the same thing and draw it that way. Looks fine to me. I went and did that on the back side because the rear really needs it to be trimmed out. And I got that. There's multiple lines, but I got to draw which ones I'm actually going to be using. I'm probably going to be using the wider ones just because. And we're going to get that trimmed out. Hopefully that'll be done for now, and that'll at least give us a good idea of what the fender wells are going to be. Gotta get working back out again. Forearms are burning after one fender. That's probably just age related, but whatever. Got one done, and another age related thing is the old ass sciatica started kicking in because, I don't know, apparently I'm not allowed to work out without hurting. So I'm gonna go and go do the other side tomorrow. All right, I don't know if this is gonna be the last day I'm gonna be able to film, but we're back out here again, trying to get the shop warmed up. I gotta put the right front back together. There's a whole bunch of stuff there that I forgot to put back on. I had to take the caliper off because apparently that brake hose is a little too short if I want to drop it from this height. Let's see, I gotta put the shocks back in. I gotta take the left side wheels off, roll those fenders. Hopefully get most of the major body fab done today, which would be a big load off my back. Once that's done, we're gonna have to look around and figure out what else to do, but I want this car to be done because I really am itching to get that other project in here. The logistics of that are gonna be very difficult. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get it in here, but I really want to. So let's just get this thing done so that we can at least figure out what we're gonna do next. There she is on the ground. The only ugly part is that little strip that we still have to put on, is it looks a little bit funny because I haven't fastened it here, so it hasn't pulled that in, and it's a little bit up higher than the rest of the car. But to be honest with you, it looks pretty darn good. I wanted the nose kicked out at the bottom, and it kind of is, so that's good. This fender looks good. Door is perfect. I just got to fasten the bottom when we figure out if we're going to run a rocker panel or not. At this point, it kind of doesn't look like we need one. That right rear is nice and tight. I still love this bumper cover. I thought that was a cool idea, and it really turned out well. This side, well, I cut this one a little big, but that's okay. You know, we'll get away with it. This one looks pretty good too, because yeah, I wanted that one to be a little big as well, just to be safe, because the left front is the one that travels the most. and I wanted to make sure that nothing would get into it, especially if you take a hit in the front. I don't want it kicking back, and if for some reason this fender gets ripped off the rivets, it won't hit that too easily. Hopefully it won't do that, but everything here looks pretty good. So I think that a lot of this body is pretty much done, and I've said that a few times, but this time I think I can actually mean it, because all the fender wells are done, the heights on the body are done, the let's see here, I just got to get the nose skirt done, but I don't think that's going to make it into this video because of prior obligations I got going on behind the scenes. And the hood, oh yeah, the hood, we're going to call that done, except for graphics, wrap, whatever we're going to do to this thing to get it to look good. But I think that's going to have to do it for this week because, well, we're at the point right now where whatever we get done on the car can be last minute stuff, like when we get the car wrapped or painted or whatever we're going to do for the exterior of the car. I would really love to be able to wrap it because I've never done that before. And it would be a fun new thing to do if I chose that project to take on. It would be a really great cover for that hood that we kind of band-aided back together. And it would look sharp, too. I think it would look really cool. And I know that they're pretty durable. I need something durable because if things happen on the racetrack, you can guarantee I'm going to be in the middle of it because that's just kind of how these cars race. But anyway, I really, really want to get that other project in here. This car is at a point right now where the majority of the major body fab is done. We need a nose strip and graphics and maybe rockers if we end up doing that. But at this point, I'm looking at it and I'm like, we won't have a lot of room for them. So we might just polish it up and send it. So either rate, with the workload decreasing, even though we still have a lot left to do, like I'm looking at it right now, and we need radiator ducting, we need the distributor in, we need, to be fair, we don't need a heck of a lot. So, I know we've been working on this thing since October, maybe even earlier, no, because we had to get the car built, then we got it ready, took it out to the track to try to race it, wrecked it, then we had to do the whole process over again. So it's been a real grind. I appreciate everybody's patience in that. I appreciate everybody who's been hanging along for the ride. We've really kind of taken a dump on YouTube lately because of, I don't know why, but I'm trying my best to put out some kind of entertaining content of just, basically it's just a vlog at this point of the life of a short track racer or a do-it-yourself automotive person. I wish I had the budget to go out and just do project car. Hey, I went out and found this barn find. Hey, I got this and that, and I have a different car every week and stuff I can work on. I don't have that. I'm a normal guy. I don't have any money coming in from YouTube more than beer money every month. It's really not a lot, you know? I appreciate every bit I get. I appreciate everybody's help, donations. I appreciate everybody's sharing, liking, subscribing, everything that you guys do. Trust me, I don't want to stand here and talk all the time. I'd rather be working on the car. But right now, I really, I keep dangling the carrot in front of you guys. I've been dangling that carrot for years now. And if the weather's going to cooperate with us, maybe I'll get that project here. That would be really, really awesome. And that's something I think that the channel and everybody who subscribes to it would really love to see, and it would mean a lot to me and my family, this new project that I've been just dying to get in here. So I really need to just kind of sack up and do it, and let's see what happens. But thank you all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate everybody, your patience. Trust me, give me a couple months. We're going to be racing again, and this time we're going full time, weekly. So we're going to get a lot of racing content over the summer. Tell your friends if you think they'd enjoy this type of thing. Tell your family too. Who knows? Whoever you think would like this. Thank you all again. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time.